Welcome back to the English Daily Podcast. I'm Anna, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Jake. Today, we're diving into a topic that affects every single one of us: friendship and social connections. How do we make friends as adults? Why are close friendships so important for our health? And what English vocabulary can help you talk about these ideas? Let's jump in.
Hey everyone, Jake here. You know, Anna, I was thinking about this the other day. When we were kids, making friends was so easy. You'd just go to the playground, see someone your age, and within 5 minutes you'd be best friends, building sandcastles together. But as an adult, it feels totally different. There's this word I love, daunting. Making new friends as an adult can feel really daunting, meaning scary or intimidating.
That's a great word, Jake. Daunting, daunting. It describes something that makes you feel anxious because it seems difficult or challenging. And you're absolutely right. Studies show that after age 25, the number of close friendships people have tends to decline significantly. Life gets busy: careers, families, responsibilities. So let's talk about why friendships matter and how to build them.
Let's start with the why. Did you know that having strong social connections can actually increase your lifespan? There's a famous study from Harvard called the Harvard Study of Adult Development. It's been running for over 80 years, tracking the lives of hundreds of men. And the number one predictor of happiness and health? Not money, not fame, not even exercise. It was the quality of their relationships. That's pretty powerful.
That's incredible. So friendships aren't just nice to have, they're essential for our well-being. Let me introduce a useful phrase here: to thrive. To thrive means to grow, develop, and be successful in a strong, healthy way. When you have meaningful friendships, you don't just survive, you thrive. Now, let's talk about some practical vocabulary. Jake, what's a word you'd use to describe a really good, close friend?
I'd say a confidant. That's a person you trust completely, someone you can share your deepest secrets and feelings with. The word comes from French, and it's spelled confident. A confidant is different from just a regular friend. You might have many friends, but only one or two confidants. Another great term is to bond with someone. When you bond with someone, you form a close, emotional connection.
Excellent. And here's another one: to catch up with someone. This is a phrasal verb that English learners hear all the time. When you catch up with a friend, you exchange news and find out what's been happening in their life since you last spoke. For example, I need to catch up with Maria. I haven't seen her in months. Notice the preposition with is always used after catch up.
That's a great one. Let me add another phrasal verb: to drift apart. This is what happens when friendships slowly fade over time. You don't have a fight or a disagreement, but you just stop talking as much. You drift apart. It's a sad word, but it's very common. My college roommate and I drifted apart after we graduated. The opposite of that is to reconnect, to get back in touch with someone after a long time.
Let's talk about the different stages of friendship. There's an interesting framework that psychologists use. First, you have acquaintances, people you know, but you're not close with. Maybe you say hello to them at work or in your neighborhood. Then you have casual friends, people you enjoy spending time with, but you don't share deep personal things. And finally, close friends or intimate friends. These are your confidants, the people you can call at 3 a.m. if you're in trouble.
That framework is really helpful for English learners because it gives you specific vocabulary to describe different types of relationships. Now, let's talk about the practical side of making friends. A lot of adults struggle with this. One key piece of advice is to put yourself in situations where you see the same people repeatedly. This is called the mere exposure effect. We tend to like people more the more we see them. So join a club, take a class, go to a regular meetup.
That's excellent advice. And here's a great idiom for you: to break the ice. This means to do or say something to make people feel more comfortable in a social situation. For example, at a networking event, you might break the ice by asking someone about their job or complimenting something they're wearing. The phrase comes from the idea of breaking ice to allow ships to pass through. Let me give you a sentence. I was nervous at the party, so I broke the ice by asking about the music.
I love idioms. Let me share another one, to hit it off with someone. This means to immediately like someone and have a great connection with them from the very first meeting. My wife and I really hit it off on our first date. We talked for 4 hours. Or, I met my new coworker yesterday, and we hit it off immediately. It's a very natural, common phrase in everyday English conversation.
Another essential skill for building friendships is being a good listener. And there's a wonderful term for this, active listening. Active listening means fully concentrating on what the other person is saying, rather than just waiting for your turn to speak. You show you're listening by nodding, making eye contact, and asking follow-up questions. For example, if someone says, "I had a really tough week at work," instead of saying, "Oh, me too," you might ask, "What made it tough?"
That's a really important distinction. Active listening also involves something called mirroring, repeating back a key word or phrase to show you understand. So if someone says, "I'm feeling really overwhelmed by my project," you might say, "Overwhelmed? Tell me more about that." This encourages the other person to open up and feel heard. And here's the thing, people who make you feel heard are people you want to be friends with.
Let's talk about vulnerability. This is a big word in psychology and friendship. Vulnerability means being willing to show your true feelings, including your weaknesses and fears, without knowing how the other person will react. Researcher Brené Brown has done amazing work on this. She says that vulnerability is the birthplace of connection. You can't have deep friendships without being willing to be vulnerable.
That's so true. And here's a useful vocabulary word related to this, to open up. This phrasal verb means to share your feelings or personal experiences with someone. It took me a long time to open up to my therapist. Or, he finally opened up about his childhood. Notice it's usually followed by, about, or, to. So, to open up to someone about something.
Let's look at some common mistakes English learners make when talking about friendship. One common error is saying "I have a friendship with him." That sounds a bit formal and unnatural. It's much more natural to say "we're friends" or "he's my friend." Another one is confusing colleague and coworker. A colleague implies a professional relationship, while a coworker is simply someone you work with. Your coworker might become a friend, but your colleague usually stays more professional.
Great points. Also, be careful with the word friendly. In English, friendly describes someone who is nice and approachable, but it doesn't necessarily mean they want to be your friend. The shop assistant was very friendly doesn't mean they want to go for coffee with you. If you want to say someone is easy to befriend, you can say they're outgoing or sociable.
Let's do a quick recap of the key vocabulary we've covered today. First, we had daunting, something that feels intimidating. Confidant, a trusted close friend. To bond with, to form a close connection. To catch up with, to exchange news. To drift apart, to slowly lose contact. To break the ice, to start a conversation comfortably. To hit it off with, to immediately connect with someone. And active listening, fully focusing on the speaker.
And don't forget to open up, to share personal feelings. Vulnerability, the willingness to be emotionally open. And, to reconnect, to get back in touch with someone after time apart. That's a lot of useful vocabulary.
Here's a challenge for our listeners. This week, I want you to take one small step toward building a social connection. Maybe reach out to an old friend you haven't talked to in a while and catch up. Or, if you're new to a city, try joining a club or a group activity. And as you do it, practice using some of the vocabulary we learned today. You can even write down a few sentences about your experience.
That's a wonderful challenge. And remember, learning English isn't just about grammar and vocabulary, it's also about connecting with people. Building friendships gives you real opportunities to practice your English in a natural, meaningful way. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Every conversation is a chance to learn something new.
Great advice, Jake. Let's quickly review the key phrases one more time. Ready? Break the ice, hit it off, catch up, drift apart, open up. Practice these this week. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the English Daily podcast on YouTube. Hit that like button, share it with a friend who's learning English, and leave us a comment telling us about a time you hit it off with someone new. We love hearing from you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember, every great friendship starts with a simple hello. So go out there, break the ice, and keep practicing your English. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now, and happy learning.